Hello and welcome to Woman right here on Independent Television. I am Ameze Bazwaye. Now today's conversation is particularly timely as we gear up to celebrate International Women's Day 2025. It's actually coming up next week Saturday, the 8th of March. Now this year's theme, Accelerate Action, calls on every one of us to speed up the momentum towards achieving gender equality. Is actually a call to accelerate progress, dismantle barriers, and overcome biases that continue to hold women back, especially in fields like science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, which are fields that a lot of women tend not to be into. Also, in the month of February, there's the UNESCO Observance of Women and Girls in Science. So today we'll be highlighting how far we've come and how much work is needed, especially in balancing the equation for women in science. I'm thrilled to be joined today by two amazing guests. I have with me Dr. Ameze Okungbowa. She is a biochemist and also the coordinator, Organization for Women in Science for the Developing World, BIU chapter. Good afternoon and welcome, ma'am.
Thank you.
It's nice to have you here.
I'm glad to be here.
Also here on stage with me is Mrs. Yvonne Ibitoye. She's a microbiologist and also the treasurer of that same organization. Good afternoon and welcome.
Good afternoon.
It's nice to have you here as well.
Thank you for having me.
All right, now both of you are in areas that are not really dominated by women. Am I right?
True.
Okay, so it is safe for me to say that you're the best persons to be here to discuss this today. Okay, so I'm going to start off with, let's talk a little bit about these barriers, these biases that we tend to see amongst men and women in different fields, especially in fields that are usually dominated by the male folk. Why do we tend to see these biases? Why do we tend to see this kind of divide when it comes to the working environment? I'll start off with Dr. Ameze.
Okay, thank you very much for having me here today. I want to say that the biases we see in fields that are prominently dominated by men is not surprising, especially for our society here in Nigeria and Africa at large, because there's this belief that the woman should actually just focus on her family, take care of her husband, the children, be in the kitchen, cook and do house chores. And the society hasn't really been encouraging women to go beyond these roles, these traditional roles of women. So naturally, they expect a woman to maybe go to school and study food and nutrition, home economics, you know, hotel management and all of those. But the trend has moved, you know, things have happened, the world is moving very fast. So it's important that the society come to terms with the trend now and allow women in Nigeria, in Africa, all over the globe to go beyond the home and explore their capacity. Yes.
Well, you just made mention of the fact that a lot of persons feel or used to feel that women should just go to school to study minor courses like food and nutrition and all that. I'm looking at you as one person who did not just settle for a university education. You went far. You are a doctor today, and that's because you have your PhD.
Sure.
How has it been for you? How were you able to achieve this feat despite the trend that is in vogue, especially despite the fact that we're going into the modern world, we're evolving, there's still this bias. There's still this same, especially if a woman gives birth and it's a girl, they say, and a half current. if it's a boy, you hear full current. Okay, so how were you able to, regardless of all of this, still push forward till you got to that educational level that you are right now?
Okay, you know, the home is very key in the life of a child and especially in the life of a woman. I would want to give that credit to my dad. Yes, he was even till now, he's still one of my biggest fans. He fanned the flames of success and the belief in us as women. I'm the first child of my dad, and I have 5 sisters. Wow. So every time he would talk to us and encourage us and challenge us that we can actually go beyond the ordinary and achieve great things. You know, he would always encourage us, and he ensured that beyond our secondary education, we went to school, got our first degree, pushed us again, went ahead, got a master's degree, and then even after I got married, he would still sound it in my ear every time he had the opportunity to have a conversation. How is your PhD going? And he was one of the happiest persons when I completed that. So he was the one who really fanned the flame, and coupled with my own interest, you know, to be successful and to do excellently well in what I do. So that's it.
It's amazing to note the fact that it's your father that actually pushed you.
Yeah.
A lot of fathers, a lot of men would say, a girl, she will marry, she will change her name. It's her husband that will not take the glory.
True.
To see a man actually pushing you, despite the fact that you're already married, still pushing you
Yes.
to go ahead educationally,
Yes,
it's brilliant,
yes.
and it's worthy to commend. I'll talk with Mrs. Yvonne. Let's look at you personally in your own field as a microbiologist. Have you ever experienced any form of gender bias? Has there ever been a time when they say, you're a woman, you cannot do this one, don't worry, sit down? Or probably some persons experience low salary, like their salary compared to the males in their offices are lower. Do you have any such experience?
Well, personally, I do not have such experiences, but I know of women that experience this sort of things. Disparity with salaries, they are in the same position with men, but somehow they are receiving less. Then when you have kids, you have to pause on your career. And when you come back, you know, a lot of people have gone ahead. So there's no opportunity for remote work in order for you to catch up with, you know, what's happening. But a lot of women struggle with this. It's a challenge, and we are hoping that as time goes by, this will be an issue of the past.
Okay. So what strategies, what actions do you think should be made for this change to actually be held?
Okay, first of all, I think we should involve the men. Yes, we should involve the men. They should speak out against sexism, all forms of misogyny. They should listen to women and find out areas that they are challenged and amplify their voices. Every form of sexual harassment at various workplaces should be attended to. It should be taken care of, and whoever is found guilty, the books should be thrown at them, so as to set a precedence for every other person to watch and then follow.
Okay. Dr. Ameze made mention of something while she was speaking. She said self-motivation also helped her. A lot of women are not fully motivated. They feel like, at the end of the day, I have to take care of my children, I have to take care of my husband, my home. They don't have this passion to actually achieve what they want to achieve. What would you say to such women out there?
I would say to such women, you know, sometimes when you're doing all of this, there's this imposter syndrome that sort of comes in. But my advice is strongly believe in yourself, work hard at it, believe that all of your efforts will indeed pay out, or all of your efforts will indeed pay, and then you'll be able to reap the dividends of all of the hard work that you have put into it. They shouldn't feel bad or be challenged, but rather they should toughen up. Yes, they should toughen up. You don't just take things lying low. Speak up against anybody that tends to marginalize you. Let them know. The only reason evil prevails is because good doesn't challenge. So when good speaks up against evil, eventually you have a balance.
Okay. Dr. Ameze, I'm directing this question to you now. Why do you think it's critical to accelerate efforts to balance the gender bias that is in existence in offices, even in homes? Sometimes you get to see, I've experienced a couple that said, I can't do that with my husband that does that one a man work. And then in another home, a woman is doing that work that they say that one a man work. So how do you think we can accelerate, generally on a general note, how do you think we can accelerate efforts to close that gap that is there?
Okay, so I believe that empowering the woman in every sphere where she's involved, including in the home, we go a long way to close that gap, and also to educate the male child from an early age, letting him know that, yes, you are a man, and he's a woman. However, the woman also has the capacity to do much more than what society feels that she should be doing. What I mean by that is, for instance, people believe that generally the man should be more intelligent and smarter than the woman. And even in some schools, in classes, you know, when the girls are leading, the teachers be like, oh, guy, the boys, what are you waiting for? How do you allow a girl to beat you? You get? So it's important for society to, and the family, the home, to educate the boy child from a tender age, and even the girl child. Let them know that the woman is also has the capacity of intelligence and being smart and creative and innovative. So when we have this mindset, it will go a long way to close that gap and ensure that there's no room for bias for the woman, and allow the woman to go all out with her abilities, with her strengths, with her intelligence, with her ideas. And I tell you, if the woman is allowed to express herself with all she has, the world will be a better place for us.
All right, ma'am. You're the, should I call you the chairman of your organization?
The coordinator.
The coordinator. So you are the leader, you are the head. All right, now generally we tend to see president, vice president, let's say treasurer, secretary. You see president, male, vice president, female, treasurer, maybe female because they say women can take care of money, secretary, male, and probably just two persons in an EXCO would be female. And like I said, the main positions are given or reserved for the men. How do you think affects women who want to come out for leadership positions?
Yes, it's very much affects the woman's, should I say, her IQ now, mindset now, psychology, so to speak. So it's discouraging actually, especially when the woman knows that she has the capacity, many times, even better than the man who would have been anointed, so to speak, to hold those positions. So I think that the woman should be given a chance at leadership and allow her to express her strengths and capacity. If the society believes in her, and if the organization can believe in her, she would be able to express that and convince society that she has the capacity to do that. Yes.
Okay, Mrs. Yvonne, let's look at women who are actually in positions of leadership. What are those challenges that they may face, and how do we avoid them? How do we how do we stop these challenges that they actually face on a general basis?
Well, generally, women in leadership positions are undermined. When they just look at you and then see you are a female, automatically they just begin to doubt your competence. Women in leadership also suffer some form of harassment or the other. Women in leadership, when they try to control the sector that has been given to them, you always have people within that want to challenge your authority on the merit of, you don't know as much to tell us what to do. So, but I feel the antidote to that is competence. Over time, your competence will show and results speak for themselves. So all forms of mediocrity and all forms of entitlement should not be something that should be found in women that are in leadership position. Any position you deserve or any position you earn, take it, do your best, deliver, show results, and let people believe and trust in the capacities of women.
Okay, now let's shift to the science world now. Okay, I didn't study science. Okay, I'm an arts. Let me call it art student. But you both are into sciences. How is it for you? Most times we tend to see it, for instance, in engineering. If you go to a school, a university, and you go to the engineering department, you can count 1, 2, 3, highest, maybe 5 girls in a class. Every other person are males. If you go to mass comm, which is the course I studied, you tend to see more females than males. For the women or the females who are in such fields that are more dominated or mostly dominated by the males, how do they stand out? Let me use that term. What should they do to actually stand out and be the best at what they're doing?
Well, prior to now, this used to be very dominant, but now things are changing. Like where I work, for example, we have a lot of female students getting interested and involved in supposedly complicated and hard courses. They are. And most times you discover that they are even, permit me to use the word, sounder than their male counterparts. So they are doing very well. For me, intelligence and competence stands you out. Yes, intelligence and competence stands you out. Don't be carried away by your looks, but your brain power. Let it be able to deliver for you when it needs to. So I think that's just my little piece of advice.
Okay, I'm going to throw the same question to Dr. Ameze, but that will be right after we take this break. This is Woman to Woman right here on Independent Television. Don't go anywhere. All right, it's still a Woman to Woman right here on Independent Television with yours truly, Ameze Bazwai. I still have Dr. Ameze Okumbowa in the building and Mrs. Yvonne Ibitoye right here. Before we went on that break, I asked the question, and I'll still direct that same question to Dr. Ameze. For young ladies who are in courses or who are in fields that are male-dominated, how do they stand out? What do they do to be in the limelight, let me use that term, for the positive aspect?
Yes, I believe that those females should not get intimidated. Remember why they are in those courses. I'm sure that they were passionate about making a difference in the course, and so they should focus and not be carried away by distractions. And also for them to buckle up, put in all efforts and put in all their capacity to be able to achieve their goals. And they don't necessarily have to be in competition with the men. We are not in competition with the men. We're not. So they don't really have to be in competition with the men. They only have to be in competition with themselves, with their goals, with their vision, with their dream. They should also know that, just like, permit me to make reference to the Bible, when God told Elijah that there are 70,000 other prophets who have not bowed to Baal. Yes. So in other words, there are several other of that type who are like them. So another thing for them to do is to find a way to get mentorship. Same field, they should find mentors in that field who are women, who can motivate them to become good at what they do and achieve their goals and their dreams. Okay,
I was about to come into that aspect of mentorship. Are there any laid down organizations or mentoring programs that are in existence for such women who are in areas that are not so popular for the women? Like your organization, for instance, yes. For women in science, yes. What exactly do you do? How do you help the younger ladies coming up?
All right, so the Organization for Women in Science for the Developing World is actually an international body. Okay. It's a body that cuts across all countries in the world. And in Nigeria, almost in all universities, except they are new, we have OWSD established in those universities. And as just like the name goes, it's for women who are in science. So first of all, if you are a woman in science and you're in any of the universities, whether as a student, as a postgraduate student, or as an academic person, you can actually be a member of the OWSD. Even non-academic staff who have done sciences can become members. So it's to be able to identify such organizations and then participate. OWSD organizes conferences, seminars, workshops that will empower women with skills necessary for their field of interest. They also provide opportunities for scholarships, fellowships for those who have gone through their PhD to go outside the country and have a global experience. So, but if you're not a member, you may not be opportune to have such information. So I encourage women to, even if you're not in the science field, in other fields too, you can find and identify and join such organizations.
All right, yes. Mrs. Yvonne, we're looking at Women in Science, an organization that's already set aside for that. Don't you think it would be wise, just the way we said earlier on that the men have a role to play, don't you think we should have something like an organization for men who support women in science?
Well, I don't know about that, but women are more on the receiving end. And as such, we have this sort of organization for women. But we have a lot of men that support us as well. a lot of men that agree with our principles, that agree with some of these values that we preach. They support us as well. So the advantage, first of all, by being born as men. So women also decided to come together, do this for us. It's something that's working. It's something I believe everybody should key into, talk about, tell people about, so that at the end of the day, women will be where God intends for them to be.
Okay, so before we round up the show, let's get from you, Dr. Ameze, your final words, your advice to women, your advice to men, your advice to the general public as regards gender equality and how we can reduce and break those barriers and biases that we tend to see in society.
All right, so my fellow women, those in science and in other fields, I would like to also encourage the young women too, those coming up, girls in science, women who are coming up in science, that they are not disadvantaged in any way, and they shouldn't consider themselves that their gender has given them that bias already. So they shouldn't create a bias for themselves in addition to what the society has. They should go all out, you know, and be the best that they can be, pursue their dreams and achieve their goals.
All right, thank you so much, Dr. Ameze. Mrs. Yvonne Ibitoye, let's hear your last words.
Okay, for women out there, you can do whatsoever you set your heart to do. You have all of the support by joining any of these organizations to help you further your dreams. For men, support us as much as you can. Women are not subservient, but rather you have them as support to work hand in hand to make the world a better place. And for everybody else, learn about the challenges that women deal with. Teach it to others, amplify it, and then join organizations that promote the cause of women. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Yvonne Ibitoye, and of course, Dr. Ameze Okunbowa, for being on the show today.
Thank you.
It has been really an amazing conversation, learning from you both. Basically, I know that in general, a lot of persons who are listening right now or who are watching right now would actually have gotten a thing or two that they should learn from. And I hope and pray that this time in about 5 years, we'll get to see where, for instance, like here in the studio, it's a man that is manning the camera. Imagine if it was a woman that was there. It would be really amazing. Let's tend to see more women in things that are supposedly for men and more men in things that are supposedly for women as well. My name is Ameze Bazwai. This has been Woman to Woman right here on Independent Television. I'll be here same time, same station for another exciting episode of the program. Good afternoon.